Hello guys, just Goron here and welcome back to the 7th episode of building Beekse Bergen. And in today's episode, as I said in the last one, we will be working on the second primate house. But before we do that, let's get a little body of water in here. And this is actually the body of water separating the guests from the giraffe habitat. Or well, I say giraffe, it's mainly giraffe. There's also gravy zebras, as well as some other safari animals. Now we are working on the outside area first. Over here there is a bunch of reference points as always. That's a toilet building, and over here is a large land bridge once again. And the main function of this land bridge, as far as I can tell, is to give zookeepers a place to cross. So over here I'm putting down a little path, and I'm using that to determine how high the land bridge needs to be, because it is not all that high, but because of the game's limitations, of course, in order to have a path be able to go under there, I do need to make it a certain height. So that's a bit of a minor compromise, which we can live with in order to make it all functional. An alternative, of course, would be to have it a non-functional path, just drawing it using terrain and stuff, but I'd like my keepers to be able to walk there. I'm not sure where I'm going to put all the keeper huts and stuff for this place. In the previous monkey house or primate house, we were able to put the keeper hut in the house itself, but for this one we're actually not going to be able to do that, so you'll see why when we get to it, but minor spoiler, the main reason is that there's 3 monkey habitats in this primate house instead of 2, so needs more space for monkeys. So over here the keeper path kind of goes alongside of the water here, which is why I'm kind of getting this land bridge in shape in such a way that it's actually possible for me to get a path leading alongside it. And now the terrain is kind of in the way of placing these paths down. There's a bunch of stuff stopping me from doing what I want, but we managed to get it kind of in a place where we want it to be. And now it's just a case of getting everything nice and lined up. And there you have that. So now doing the pathing alongside the water here is a bit tricky because, well, the terrain is constantly in the way. So we constantly have to kind of terraform and try to wiggle our way through and figure out how we can actually manage to put it in, but eventually we get something that works. So this still needs a bunch of detailing, like trees and stuff and shrubbery growing around, lots of reeds. And at this point the path was being such a nuisance that I just removed it. Placing it back later, it's easier to do it this way. Sometimes if something's in the way, you may as well just remove it. Now eventually we just stopped using the 3-meter path. That was just to get it between the water and the land bridge. After a while that's just all fine now. Just some minor dirt. You can still see the grass grow through it, but you can see that it's been walked on by the zookeepers every now and then. And that is basically what we're trying to get across there. So that will be that. Now we are going to work on the primate house itself a little bit. Oh wait, no, there's a bit more of land bridging to do, because this part of the land bridge is actually being supported by a large, like, wooden wall, basically. But more about the primate house, a little glimpse you could see just now was me putting in a diagonal wall, because the right side of the building has a little bit of a diagonal wall sticking out to give a bit more space to the viewers and keep out the gorillas. Most of all, I think. So, little wooden wall and bunch of stuff. And what I do now, because it's only supposed to be one wooden wall, but because the terrain slopes down and I can't really get it up against the edge, what I'm doing is putting these wooden pieces slightly slanted inside, and now pushing them down, and it's basically just a thicker wall now, and the terrain kind of goes over it, and that kind of gets across what I'm trying to get across, really. Now on this side, there is no steep wall. It is all just a gradual slope, and it has these wooden things supporting the entrance. Now we still need to figure out a way to kind of get the terrain up against that, probably using some soil pieces or just plants in general, but that's the end of that for now. Now we're working on the primate house itself, and this one has a different color, and I think I may have mentioned this already. I thought this would be just... Okay, so a few episodes ago we copy pasted this building from the first primate house, and I thought it was going to be a case of just recoloring it and calling it a day, pretty much. And the only thing that we were going to do was redo the little spiral thing at the front of it to see if we could do a better job, and then copy that one over to the old one. Turns out that this primate house actually is a completely different shape than the first one, not just in the sense that it has these little things sticking out. It's actually a lot larger as well, to make space for the extra set of monkeys, and the entire front of it is made out of wood instead of the plastery stuff that we had been using. I should also mention that this building is actually made out of painted brick, but if we did make it out of that, we couldn't do some of the detailing that we do. Basically there's just stripes all over the building, which we don't actually get to put on in this episode. I did that off camera, but yeah, because of that I decided that just to keep it plaster, basically. Now you can see me kind of fumbling around with the slope over there. It's the diagonal piece that I mentioned, and we're putting in the wooden bit, because as I said, this entire area is made out of wood. Now I started making this all out of the Arctic wood, which is a very nice piece because of how modular it is, but as you can see it leaves some gaps on the diagonal side, and I just decided to fill that in with these small planks. I could do the entire roof out of planks, and we will eventually, but for now I thought this would be a decent enough solution. Now over here I'm kind of getting all the wood pieces I can find that would help me build the pointy roof thing. If you saw the second episode, you kind of know what I mean. These primate houses have like a little pointy roof, which is an octagon. And it's a very complex shape. Basically, it's at an angle. It's really weird. It's already an annoying enough shape to make without just a cut ready piece. But to make matters worse, it is a complete. It is at an angle, and yeah, you'll see what I mean when we get to building it. Now the previous one was made out of plastic pieces, the in-game art pieces, but it turns out, which I also didn't realize when I thought we would just copy this one over to the previous primate house, it turns out this one is made out of wooden planks, so we cannot copy it over to the other one because that one is made out of the plastic. So probably off camera I'll try to redo the previous one on my own, because we do actually end up doing a much better job in this instance, this time. I get like the octagon right, and I just make this little section of it, and I fill that in with planks, like so. And that gives us a very nice filled in shape that we can put on the roof. Now I was kind of fidgeting around or fumbling around with the size of this, because I didn't know exactly how big it needed to be. Tried to calculate it, ended up just kind of eyeballing it, and it's not exactly correct, but it's good enough, I want to say. The shape isn't entirely correct, but what do you do? Oh, I forgot to hit record there, but here we have the thing actually put into place, and I rotated it up each piece like 30 degrees, something like that, and started kind of fixing it. But then I realized soon that what I was doing was going to take a lot of work, and what I should do was just keep the two sides separate, and basically we have the corresponding sides to that, as well as the piece next to that. You can see, so you got 4 slices of one and 4 slices of the other, and the in-between slices to make them slightly slimmer, and then we could just copy those all around. And so what I kept doing was I kept only making one of them, basically. And here I'm lining it up to the building as well as I can, basically. And here I'm lining it up to the building as well as I can, because that's what I meant with it being at an angle. It's a very complex shape. Now it's slightly too big, and it should actually be a bit more down forward, but it ends up working quite well this way, and it looks a lot, especially from the front, it looks a lot like the original. So that's why I decided against changing it anymore, and I just kept it the way it is. So closing up the roof and finding a monkey to put on top. It's actually way too big compared to the real one, but this is the only monkey we have, pretty much, the only gorilla, so I went with it. And now it's just a case of polishing everything up. Just lots of fidgeting around, getting the roof in the right spot, and yeah, getting those pieces in and cleaning it up. But that's the good thing about using these planks, really, is that it's actually really feasible to clean it up to a degree that it actually looks really great. Which is why, and also because this part of the roof is made out of the planks now, that's why I end up making the entire roof out of planks as well. The entire roof, as well as the little ledge on top of that, because we need that to be only like 1 meter long. Now over here, what I'm building is a little like thicker piece of wall, and I decide to, I already decided earlier to put the entire wall a bit forward more. But what we're doing here is, as I said, getting this piece of wall filled in, because it doesn't need to be that long, and then we get rid of the roof and put that in as well. Now what I mentioned earlier, the little bit at the front that we built, that is actually kind of a keeper area for the aviary that is in front of this building. There's a small aviary of like only a couple of birds that stands in front of this building. Now, speaking of aviaries, the flamingo habitat we built in the last episode, I actually finished that off camera. It's not visible in this recording yet, because this is actually from like a night before that. But I finished it off camera, and it looks really great. I got all the ropes in. Still have to do some detailing with like foliage and the viewing platform, but it's getting there. And boy, that was a lot of work. Like, all those ropes for the aviary is just insane. And there's only like 6 more to go, or 5 more to go, of those same styled aviaries, one of which is in front of this building. But it's a lot smaller, so maybe we can actually use some of the other rope pieces. But what I've been thinking about regarding the aviaries is, since there's no birds in the game really, other than flamingos and peafowl and ostriches, but ostriches are a bit too big for an aviary, I was thinking maybe putting like peafowl and flamingos, kind of altering them around each of the aviaries that we got. I think I may have actually mentioned this in the last episode, I can't remember, which is really stupid because I recorded it this morning. But yeah, that's a plan I have. So, lots of stuff going on, putting the pathing in, and kind of getting the shape art. I'm actually really happy with how I managed to put the pathing in once again. Kind of filling out the entire area that guests can actually enter. And managed to get the shape of the kind of... there's actually 3 entrances to this building. And I get them all their own path in pretty much the correct spot. And I get it hooked up to the little side viewing platform there. All quite well, so I'm really happy with how that went. And now we're just opening this up for some doors. And that's pretty much the front all done. So now it's a case of doing the interior, and the interior is actually quite complex as well. There's this little, what do you call it, like a, yeah, what would we call that? I'm really not sure. It's like a little stand. There's a window which is pretty much always closed as far as I can tell, but you can imagine there being a person opening the window and starting to give some information and just talking about the animals you're seeing there. Which, yeah, you can see me build it right now. There's just this little window where they might sell stuff, or I don't know what it is for. It might be like very old, from just back in the day they used to sell stuff there or something. I really don't know, wouldn't be able to tell you. But it's there, so I built it. And now we're getting the glass in. It was actually kind of challenging because of the pathing, but I ended up removing a bit of pathing, and then I was able to fit it all quite nicely. And I was able to put some of the pathing back in so that people can actually get right up to the glass. And now, same as last time, we're putting a concrete barrier in the middle, but this time I did bring it up to the ceiling, so that when we put the climbing structures in later and the animals glitch through the ceiling again, they won't be able to walk to the other habitat. So there's actually a fix that I should also implement into the other primate house once we do the chimpanzee exhibit there. Yeah, I want to I don't care if they glitch through the ceiling. I'm sure they can I'm sure they can get back down. So if they want to glitch through there, just let them. Just make sure they can't go anywhere after they do. So yeah, here's just finishing that little center area, and that is pretty much the interior done. I'm just putting some bins around so that people don't walk through stuff. And now we work on the interior of the exhibits or the habitats themselves. We don't get to the decorating part yet, so the climbing structures and stuff will be built at a later date. But we do get most of the exterior all done, as I said, except for the stripes. I do those off camera. Now with this primate house, I actually noticed that the inside was a different color than the outside. It was the same yellow as in the first primate house, while the outside is still green. So I put that down as well. It's just you copy the entire wall, recolor it, and then take it off the grid and slightly align it with it. And then you will get the result you'll see here. Now on this side of the building there's actually some like rounded structures. I suppose they're to prevent the monkeys from climbing out, but they're not all over the place, so I really not too sure what the exact purpose of them are. But yeah, and here you can see me do it again. Just copy the entire thing, paint it yellow, and then slightly let it push out so you can have that double colored wall. Now over here is the mandrill place, so that's why there's no space for a keeper hut, because we need space for those mandrills to get their own interior as well, and that one is actually not accessible to guests. So, and I decided to I got a message, but and I decided to put the habitat gates on the exterior instead of the interior for these ones. Just to get some variation in that regard, and it worked quite well for this. So there we go. So that will be that. That's the entire exterior done. Actually, no, wait, I'm missing Did I forget to record the roof? That would be quite a shame, because that is one of the more interesting parts of this. Let me actually double check that. Yeah, as it turns out, I did indeed forget to record building the roof, which is a damn shame, because it was actually quite interesting to look at, I think. So now you get the full reveal, basically, over here. I was gonna save the reveal of the stripes and stuff for the next episode, but here you have it. We got the little paths coming up. I've got a little playground over here. Some bamboo and foliage. Needs a bit more foliage still. And of course the aviary needs to be built over here. I don't think this is big enough to actually keep a peafowl in without it going bonkers on space requirements, but we'll see. And yeah, you've got these little stripes all around. And you got the roof with tons of little windows. Did that similarly as to how we did it in the last one. And yeah, you got this space for the mandrills. They've got the little interior here. It's not that huge for them, but whatever. Probably could make that bigger by just making this alleyway really small, but then you probably get people clipping through that wall. But it's just staff, so it doesn't really matter that much. But I don't care. It's fine. And got a little entrance over here for this habitat, and I got some windows in. And if we just go inside, you can see little roof. Okay, we do have some clipping of foliage, which I should fix. But yeah, pretty cool. Now I might look into trying to get actual windows, not the one that you paste on there, but the ones that are, but actually make the plaster. But seeing how I have like colors and stuff overlapping, and I don't think it's feasible, so I think I'm just gonna keep it this way. Looks fine. Definitely one of the better builds so far, in my opinion, even though it's just a big box, but that's what it looks like in real life as well, so easy excuse maybe. Okay, this is a bit bland. Let me actually let's see, did I? Nope. Let's just fix that up. Now it's a bit of a shame that like all of these things are gonna be angled the same way, but that's just the way it is. Oh, so there we have it. Oh, a bit of a lag spike. Ooh, a big lag spike actually. I can't move. Okay, there we go. So that's the end. Oh, spoilers. That's the end of today's episode. Thank you very much for watching. In the next episode, we're gonna do a bit of a tour around the zoo to look at everything that we've built so far. I said that we would do that every now and again, and I think now is a good time because big things are coming, I feel like, and we've actually got a lot of stuff to show. I've also been doing quite some things off camera, so I think it's a good time for that, and we can kind of plan out the next step. So anyway, that's for the next episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.